Okay. Well, I mean, just talk about the weekend. Obviously, it's nice to be home. You get the LA schools, and USC is a different team because they didn't have Peely the first time.
Yeah.
Three.
They've added three players, not new players, but they have three kids that have gotten healthy since we played them.
Yeah, and she was the big one, obviously. I mean, she was freshman of the year last year and all that. So, how different of a team are you facing this time around?
Yeah, very different team. Well, first of all, we're thrilled to be home. And even last week, we didn't practice in our main gym at all because the men had a bunch of home games. Yeah. So it felt so great to be back on the main court yesterday. It's just been a while. It felt like, so that's fantastic. And then, USC is really different right now. Peely's one of the best players in the league as freshman of the year. And she's also getting more and more comfortable because she was player of the week last week, so she's not just back, but she's playing really well. Their other big post player was out the last two games, so I'm not sure. We'll just assume that Jackson will be back as well. Right. So they're a different team. They've added Shalexis Aaron, who is a premier three-point shooter. She's had a ton of injuries, but right now appears to be very healthy, feeling really good, shooting the ball well, and she's a big 6'1", 6'2" shooter, so she brings a lot to them in that way. And then they've added Allison, I think it's Mayura, who also is a three-point shooter. So just added some depth. At elevation, we would always prefer our opponents not have a lot of depth, but they've added those pieces, and that'll really help them.
Yeah, I know when you look at your record, you always want your record to be better, right? But I was looking through 13 Pac-12 games. This is CU's best record through 13 games in 8 years. Wow. For you guys, I mean, do you feel like you didn't have that non-conference really to prepare for the Pac-12, but do you feel like that your team is just handling the Pac-12 better than you have in the past?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we're still relatively young. I think we only have 4 upperclassmen, but we have a more experienced ball club, but I think we're actually playing really pretty well. All things considered, we have a lot of players that don't really practice a lot, and we're asking them to play in games and play in different roles and things like that. As a coach, I just look at the games that I feel like we should have won. I look back at even the USC game. I think we missed 12 layups and however many free throws, and Arizona, you miss 11 free throws, lose by 3. Like, there's so many games that we should have, in my opinion, won. Right. So that's frustrating, but I do really like how we're playing. I think even in some of these closer games, we've played pretty well and done some really good things. And I think our ball club's really learning. We're able to have sort of higher IQ conversations with the whole group about things that we, should have done differently here and there. And next time around, if you could redo this possession, what would you do differently? And have them communicating what they see and things like that. I love that about this group. They seem to be really growing.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I hear from your fans, there's frustration that the signs of growth have been maybe slow as far as wins come. But do you feel like I feel like this is maybe one of the biggest years of growth that I've seen out of your program. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, definitely. I think about how young everyone still is, that's playing besides Maya. Peanut and Sela are juniors, but for the most part, everybody else is either new or young. I think our team is learning a lot. And in order to just survive this COVID season, you have to be a pretty mature and resilient group.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't know who we're getting player wise today. I usually like to ask about the player, but
I don't think they're doing anyone.
Okay. Yeah. It's scheduled to be your last home weekend. Are you guys planning on doing a senior thing this weekend, or do you not know?
Yeah, we're not going to. We're going to find a way to celebrate our seniors later in the season when the season's actually over. Okay. It's just we want to celebrate, celebrate them in the best way possible. They deserve a great celebration, and it's very difficult to do that right now when no one can be in the building and families can't be here and they couldn't even come on the court, even if they were here, and all of those things, isn't really the way that we want to celebrate these guys. So, so we're going to wait and do that at a later time.
Okay. And then before I let Corey ask you a question, I have one other that I always have to ask you, scheduling wise, is there any updates on scheduling those 4? Do you think those will happen?
I don't think they'll happen. that's just my opinion. I reached out and tried to get a game that was postponed. The coaches have to agree to schedule the game, you know, so I reached out to someone that was supposed to play here a couple months ago, and they aren't interested in coming back here to play us.
Yeah.
You know, which I guess I understand, but you know, but disappointing that we're not going to be able to get to play the full slate of games. But there's simply not enough time and too many cancellations.
Is it fair to say that, I mean, of the 4 at most, you guys might reschedule one of them?
Yes, I think that's probably fair.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks, JR.
Of course.
I'm going to go off of that. Oh, hi. You get a question from this one too.
Oh, what a cutie.
Has anyone contacted you trying to reschedule? I'm just curious about that.
No.
Okay. I did want to ask about the eligibility issue. I guess it was 13. We were thinking if you get 13 games done, you would be eligible for a postseason run. So you guys have crossed that threshold, certainly.
Yeah.
Is there anything else out there? I know you guys aren't above 500 yet. I mean, you still have 5 games left, so there's plenty of time to do that. But they have to keep moving the goalposts a little bit to try to figure out how to get 64 teams eligible for that, and just to get everybody to play their season. So I guess maybe just kind of your thoughts on that, of just trying to follow the rules as best you can. And
Yeah,
try to
I
play
mean,
as many
I was
games
kind
as
of
you
looking at the Pac-12 standings today. There's, you know, teams that are a place or two ahead of us that have played 5 less games than us. You know, it hardly seems fair when they've only played the top 4 teams 2 times, you know, or things like that. And we've played way more games. You know, Utah could complain even more than we can. They've played 15 games, you know, to our 13. So it's pretty tough. I mean, I know the conference has a plan for how they're going to name a champion and how they're going to seed everything. I don't know how that works as far as, you know, I mean, this team's only played 8 games and we've played 13. How do you even find parity, you know, in that based on win-loss percentage? So I'm not sure exactly about that. Honestly, we're just focused on trying to beat SC, you know, and make sure that we're as healthy as possible and prepared as possible to be successful one game at a time. But we definitely are playing for postseason. I mean, we expect to be and want to be playing postseason. You know, and in order to do that, you've got to continue to win ball games. So our focus is definitely on USC, but you know, really proud of our team for being able to play 13 games so far. Like I said, there's a lot of teams in this league that haven't, you know, and we've done a really good job. Our administration has done a good job. Our trainers, our staff, and our players have done everything we can to make sure those games keep happening, or at least they're not canceled on our behalf.
It was interesting listening to some of Coach Boyle's, Tad's press conference too, is kind of asked him about postseason stuff. I mean, I went back and listened after the fact, but it was interesting. I mean, it seems like for everybody at Colorado, the focus is let's get the next game played. Yes. Let's be safe and let's do that. And it's not just the coaching staff, it's the training staff. It's as you said, the rest of the administration too. Like it's quite a team effort.
I mean, it's everyone. It's our equipment staff. It's Bart, you know, Emery, who runs this facility with Orville. Like it's every single person. It's our janitorial, our custodial staff, and everyone. You know, I don't see custodians without masks on. Like every single person in here is doing everything they can to just get another game. You know, and if we can play Friday, good Lord willing, fantastic. And then, you know, we'll prepare for Sunday and hope that that game happens as well. But I'm just incredibly proud of, like I said, our staff and players and everybody for, you know, us getting to all of these games. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure I'll probably ask you this in the pregame on Friday too, but I don't think people realize how hard it really is to do this. I watch high school and the complaints that, you know, people have to play with masks in Colorado and that kind of stuff. And the staffs are willing to work that hard, but they don't understand everything that goes into just being safe when you're just practicing and things like that. So it's
a lot, but I just think we've done a really good job with it.
I think so too. Last thing for me, how has practice changed with Sela's new outlook? Her attitude has, I mean, she always had a great attitude, but like she's running the team now. I see that on the court during the games. She really is, without maybe being more vocal or whatever. It's just that attitude change. I see that in her. I'll bet practices are a little different.
Yeah, practice isn't that different, other than that we don't have a lot of people practicing completely. So that's difficult. Coaches are trying to step in and practice. And of course, we're old and out of shape, and we definitely don't give them as good a look as what they're going to see Friday night. Alex is 7 months pregnant, and T and I are old, and Shan's really good still, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, Sela's doing great. I mean, when we knew Jalen was out, and even before that, Shan had met with Sela, and I had met with Sela about really trying to just keep it simple and help us run good offense, which I really thought we saw on Sunday. We were as a team running good offense. And we've shortened our practice window by 30 minutes for the past 2 weeks. We've shortened the practice window and added 30 minutes at a different part of the day of just pure shooting, like just you and your coach or you and your partner just shooting. And last week, Chandrika had shared that Sela was shooting the ball really well in their shooting sessions. And so it was no surprise that she shot the ball really well last weekend. We always tell players it's incredible that when you just put in some focused, extra work on getting shots up, you shoot the ball better. It's sort of the way it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, really happy with how she's playing.
Well, that's really great. I guess I'll ask about Aubrey. I don't know Brian if Brian had asked, but how's Aubs doing?
Yeah, she's not she's not allowed to practice at all, but we're hopeful that she might be able to play a little bit this weekend.
Okay.
But as of right now, yeah, she hasn't really touched a ball since Oregon State game.
More day to day still.
Very day to day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I know when knowing Aubs, man, she's going to gut it out and get as many games in as she can. So
yeah, I mean, she would be playing if she could, but that's a medical decision.
Yeah. Coach, thanks. I'm good. Brian, you might have another.
JR, I do have one other thing I want to ask you, because there's been talk about the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah.
Still want to do that in Las Vegas. What's your thoughts on still trying to push forward with that tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been planning the tournament so long with all of the COVID protocols in mind, and we all have been able to travel safely and successfully, and play games on the road successfully. No one's picking up COVID on the road, because I know for us, no one's allowed to leave the hotel. No one's allowed to come into the hotel. It's all very strict. So I don't see why we can't, have a great, successful tournament. It's the best conference in America. We should be continuing to push games and have these great teams playing against each other. And I think it's great. And I trust our conference to, have the protocols in place to keep everybody safe.
Yeah. And then you mentioned that there was a coach you talked to that was supposed to be here 2 months ago. They don't want to come back. It's obvious there's only one team that applies to. Is it okay to say that game will not happen?
I don't know. I mean, I really want the game. She doesn't want to come here, which I understand. If I was her, I probably wouldn't want to either. As far as, getting on another $30,000 charter. And, I understand that sometimes it's just simply not feasible. So it could be just simply a financial, or an injury. Maybe they're injured. I don't know, but maybe there's a chance that we could make up the game in Las Vegas, or, I really want the game, so I would like to find a way to play it, but there's a lot of games that have been canceled for a lot of people, or postponed for a lot of people. Right. And I know that every coach is doing the very best they can, to keep their team healthy and playing and safe. And so I don't fault anybody for saying we just can't do it, or we don't want to do it, or whatever. But it's unfortunate when there's an opportunity. If there came an opportunity and we couldn't play the game, that would be too bad.
Yeah, and I didn't mean it in a way that put shade towards them or anything. It's just when you said that, it's like, well, it's obvious what team you're talking about there.
Yeah, of course. And I don't know. I mean, the Pac-12 had presented, and what they have said is, you coaches need to figure it out. If you want to make up the game, figure it out. And I know most of the men's games, it feels like, are being rescheduled, but of course, men's basketball is different than women's as far as TV money and things like that. So I don't, that's just sort of what it is. But there is an opportunity maybe to make up a game in Las Vegas. There's plenty of courts, and, if there's a window that we could play one of those games, I don't see why we wouldn't. Again, if teams are healthy enough and, safe enough to play.
Well, it's not easy for Oregon to just come out here, right? And
exactly. So that's what I mean. I don't fault anybody. There's not enough, you can't just grab a charter flight, to come, especially when you've already paid for one to come up here and it didn't pan out. So,
Right.
I definitely understand it, but we just want to play.
Right. Awesome. Well, good luck to you, and I'll see you on Friday night.
Okay, sounds great. Have a good day, guys.